Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I know that a lot of you are thinking about maybe getting into long range black powder shooting, like specifically with single shot rifles, be it a Sharps or rolling block or a Stevens action, one of those, a Ballard, could be whatever. And there's a few differences in loading for a black powder single shot versus loading for a repeating rifle like a lever action. So come on in here real fast and let's have a look at what some of those differences are. Okay, so when we load for our long range precision black powder ammo, the first step we're going to do is we're going to use our expander die with our piece of cleaned, prepped, primed brass. We're going to expand these case mouths to take the bullet, and what we want to do is expand them enough to where we can get the bullet seated about 1/8 of an inch in there. On this bullet that I have right here, that leaves the 4 grease grooves fully exposed, and when we seat, our final seating depth is going to leave the top 2 grooves exposed. So we're going to go in there we're going to seat it about another 1/4 of an inch. Now we're going to take that case and we're going to drop powder, and I have a case that's charged with powder right here, and you can see inside that case there is that powder charge is way up to the top, just about. And so we're going to seat. This is an 060 vegetable fiber wad. It's what's called a Walters wad. John Walters sells these, and I'm going to put it in there. You can see how full that case is right there. And what I like to do is take a fatter Allen wrench, or you can use a pencil eraser, you know, something like that, and just seat it down on top of the powder. And then the next process that's going to happen is we're going to run this case up inside this cedar die, or this compression die. And what this is going to do is it's going to compress that powder charge down. So the compression die works a lot like the expander plug, except this plug is sized to be able to slide down into the case without deforming it. And our initial depth, you can see on here, we have that much case left. Our initial depth is 0.145 about. And once we seat it, we need to be somewhere around 0.350 to get our final length, our overall length for our rounds. Now, I arrived at my final overall length by doing my test with my rifle and figuring out where it was that the nose of that bullet was going to impact the lands. So this bullet is going to be seated into the lands. When I fire it, there will be no jump between bullet and throat and lands. It's going to be in the lands already when it fires. This is a great aid for your accuracy. So there's that. Now the third die we're going to use is going to be, this is a Whiddon die, and this is a sleeved inline seating die, and this die is just magnificent. This is going to seat our bullets absolutely straight in that case, right? And so when they're seated, and then it'll be set to our overall length. And this die I have set up specifically to load this ammo with. I don't mix up dies. If I get another rifle, I don't want to be switching die settings all the time. I want my die setting dialed in for a specific load, a specific rifle. We'll end up with a seated bullet in this case, but that still leaves a little bit of case mouth. And so our last step is actually to use our resizing die and just bump it up in there just enough to take this belling off the case mouth, and that is about as close of a crimp as we get. So let's do this on the breast real fast and see how it works. Okay, so we've got our charged case here. So we set that into the press, and then we seat our compression die. And you've got to be very careful when you compress the powder charges that the round slides up in there exactly perfect, because the face of this thing up in there. I doubt if you can see that or not, but it's flat. And the groove that this case mouth goes into is just barely bigger than the case mouth itself. And you can smash a case very easy if you're trying to go too fast. But our first measurement that we had was 0.145, and now our compressed depth on our powder charge is, come on, 0.347, because we're looking for somewhere right around there. It's okay if our bullet, when we seat our bullet, if it compresses the powder the last tiny little bit, and by tiny I mean maybe 1 or 2 thousandths. When you have a loaded round of black powder, you cannot have any airspace in the case. If you have airspace, that's how you can blow up a gun. As long as you have a compressed charge of black powder and everything is tight, seated together, it doesn't matter how much powder's in there, you're perfectly safe. So now our next step is to put our seeder die in the press and run this up into the die and gently seat that bullet. And now we are at our finished overall length, and the last thing that we've got here is we still have a little bit of belling on the case mouth, and we need to take that out. And for that we're using our resizing die, and we're just going to barely bump this. It doesn't take much at all to take that bell right off the case mouth to where this round will seat easily in the rifle. And if anything, the ogive of the bullet will come in contact with the lands, and we may use a camming tool to push the round finally all the way into the chamber. But that's it. You're looking at a finished round. It's a beautiful round. You can hit stuff a long way away with that round right there. So anyway, that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Recoil Therapy channel.
Ah!